Today we're going to be breaking down the 5 best indie games you can beat in 3 hours or less. Make sure you give this video a like, consider subscribing to the channel, and comment down below if there's any games I missed. Let's get started. At number 5 we have A Short Hike, developed and published by Adam Robinson Yu. This is kind of an action adventure game where you're basically this little bird climbing a mountain, going on a short hike. You basically collect these feathers, and the more feathers you collect, the higher you can climb and fly. And the whole goal is basically to reach the top of this mountain, but it's more about the journey along the way. The different characters you meet, you're going to be doing everything from getting into a foot race, meeting kids on the beach, building a sandcastle. I mean, you name it. This game kind of offers a little bit of everything. You can even go fishing in it. I just think it's a very fun, lighthearted, really cool stylized indie game. Apparently it started as an art project in December of 2018 when Adam Robinson Yu basically needed a break from working on his RGB project, and it was inspired by summer hiking trips and exploring in his youth. I'm not gonna lie, this one kind of grew on me. I didn't like it as much as I've grown to like it now. It was kind of a slow burn for me. I thought it was kind of boring the first time I played it, but the more I gave it a shot and really invested time into it, ended up being a pretty solid little game. So for anybody that's looking for just a lighthearted, fun little adventure game with some pretty cool characters you meet along the way, a fun little game to sit back and relax with, A Short Hike is going to be perfect for you. Sitting at number 4, we have Flower, developed by That Game Company, Inline Assembly, and Bluepoint Games. Flower is published by Sony Computer Entertainment and Annapurna Interactive. Released on February 12, 2009, Flower was designed by Genova Chen, who described the game as basically an interactive poem exploring the tension between urban and nature. Chen wanted Flower to be a work of art, not just a fun game. And that's exactly what it is. When I think about this game, I think about one of the most aesthetically pleasing looking games I've ever played. And it's so fluid and fun and chill. I mean, you're basically just a single little petal that sets out onto a field. Starts collecting other flowers. They basically tag along with you. The more you collect, the faster you move. And then it also kind of hits like a music note. So it basically starts creating a song too. It's one of the most soothing and relaxing experiences you can have as a gamer. I even managed to get my wife to play this game with me, and she's not a gamer at all, and she truly enjoyed it and actually requested to play it the next night. So it's a game that's easy to get into and fun for everybody. You know, there's not really a way to fail at it. The game is laid out pretty much right there in front of you. It's pretty linear. Easy to pick up on, like I said, so anybody can really play it. It's pretty short, like most of the games on here. I think there's only about 6 playable levels and then an extra one at the end where you actually get to play the credits. I guess kind of spoiler alert, I guess. But it was one of the most interesting ways to credit the people that actually made the game, because you fly around and each person that worked on the game represents a different flower. So in order to beat the credit level, you have to interact and basically acknowledge each person that was participated in the game, which I thought was so cool how they interacted that with a playable game itself, or a playable level. So everyone gets the recognition and the acknowledgement they deserve, and not only that, but you get to play another level that kind of incorporates that. I just thought that was kind of a cool spin on just the credits of a video game instead of just watching them roll down a screen, basically. Flower was also named Best Independent Game of 2009 at the Spike Game Awards, and it also won Casual Game of the Year from the Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences. Highly recommend Flower. Check it out if you haven't played it already. Sitting at number 3, we probably have the most interesting title on this list, and that's going to be the Stanley Parable. This actually started off as originally as a mod for Half-Life 2 by Galactic Cafe. Basically, this is an interactive, narrative-driven video game, and each decision you make in the game changes the outcome. So basically, the first time I played it, you're basically being narrated throughout the game. So the narrator is telling you what to do. Basically, Stanley has been working this job, and it's kind of a mundane job. He does the same thing every day. He kind of enters in these sales data, and then one day everything just stops, and everyone disappears from the office. And the narrator is walking you through Stanley's experience with that. So he's basically saying, like, Stanley was walking down the hall and he's going to go through the door on the left. So basically, the first time I played, I listened to everything the narrator said and I obeyed him. Yeah, I did exactly what he told me to do, and I got the perfect outcome and basically beat the game in like 13 minutes. The second time I played the game, I had a completely different experience, because this time I chose to not listen to the narrator. Everything he told me to do, I did the opposite. If he told me to go left, I went right. If he told me to answer the phone, I did not. And I basically ended up breaking the game. It was kind of funny. So basically, it's a very interesting experience, because each time you play the game, it's a different game. There's so many different directions you can go, so many different decisions you can make, and so many different outcomes you can get. If you haven't played the Stanley Parable, I definitely recommend checking it out. You can find it pretty cheap digitally. It is getting the Ultimate Deluxe release here soon, physical. But it basically feels like Stranger Than Fiction. If you've ever seen that movie where Will Ferrell is basically being narrated, and then he starts like freaking out and going against the narration and stuff like that. So if you're a fan of that movie and that type of narrative, you're going to really enjoy this game. Check it out. It became a standalone title in 2013, The Stanley Parable.
And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened.
Coming in at number 2, we have Journey, probably the most popular game on this list, and arguably this would sit at the top of most lists underneath this category in terms of like indie games you can beat in 3 hours or less. Journey is absolutely incredible. All the hype is real. If you have not played this game, this is probably the one you should play first. This is probably the game on this list that will appeal to the most masses. The reason why I say that is just because of the atmosphere of the game, the visual design. The gameplay is very solid and fluid. It doesn't have much of a story, so it's not hard to follow. It's just very well-rounded. Journey was actually created by 19 people, and the second game on this list made by that game company, so kudos to them for pumping out some great titles. They were also the creator of Flower. Journey was released on March 13, 2012, and in 2012, it became the fastest-selling PlayStation Network game ever. The character you play as is actually called the Traveler. They're genderless, and its name and age and story are unknown. I think the personal information remains a mystery to help the player feel more connected to the game world itself. And here's another interesting thing about this game, and I think everyone's experience is going to be a little bit different. As you're playing the game, if you're online, you can actually run into different players. And this didn't happen to me until basically the last I want to say 10 or 15 minutes, I basically encountered another player playing the game. And at first I didn't know if it was like an NPC, but then I discovered it was actually a real person. So we started like playing the game together, which was so cool because I could tell they haven't played it yet either. So we were both kind of figuring things out together, and you can't talk to each other. The only thing you can do are these like chirp sounds. So that was my only way of communicating with this random person I was playing with online. And we ended up beating the game together. It was really cool. Like, I saw him get hit by like an enemy at one point, or like I would fall off something and he would wait on me, and then vice versa. I would wait on him, make sure he made it through. We were kind of like help guide each other through the map. It was just a really cool experience that I was not expecting, and a perfect way to cap off the experience with Journey, because it's truly a journey in itself, and one that everybody should experience at least once. Sitting at number 1, the best indie game you can beat in under 3 hours, in my humble opinion, is What Remains of Edith Finch. I've heard a lot of people talk about this game, but it kind of caught me off guard how good it actually was. And the cool thing about this game is it's a collection of short stories, basically, about this cursed family in Washington State. Which is another reason why I connected with it, because apparently it takes place on Orcas Island. What Remains of Edith Finch was developed by Giant Sparrow and published by Annapurna Interactive, and released on April 25th, 2017. Basically how the story plays out is you're Edith and you're following her around, well, basically guiding her through this house and unsolving all the mysteries of her family, as she's basically seeking out why she's the last remaining Finch, why she's the last remaining member of her family. As you go through each room of the house, you learn about that character that lived in that space, what they were like, what happened to them, and basically it's a different mini game through each character, through each person's house, through each person's life in the house. So there's so much variety in the gameplay, which I was not expecting. I thought it was purely going to be one of those games where you kind of walk around, read stuff, and it kind of narrates the story to you. And it does do that, but you're interacting with so many different things, and the house is really cool itself too. The house in itself is a big selling point of this game, and it's kind of tragic what happened to some of these people. And it's so cool to kind of just go through the motions and experience each person's life firsthand through Edith. Basically, after the death of her mother, Dawn, Edith is given a mysterious key to the house, which opens up a secret passage. Edith is now able to explore the house and learn more about her family. I have my favorite rooms in the house. One of her older brothers in the top has a really cool room, really enjoyed it. And then the two younger brothers with like the bunk bed, like treehouse setting, I thought was really cool too. So just getting to know all the little novelties of the house is an experience and an adventure in itself. So this game is right up my alley. It does have some darker undertones too. Personally, it was the one I enjoyed the most, even over Journey, which I was surprised to say. So that's going to round out the top 5. If you haven't played it yet, check out What Remains of Edith Finch.
Dear Edith, there's so many stories I wish I could tell you, but there's only time for one. This is about what happened on the night you were born. That night, the tide went way, way out. It was the first and last time I ever saw the old house aground. There'd been an earthquake out in the middle of the ocean.
Before we wrap it up today, I did want to throw out 2 honorable mentions. First being Vinba. Developed and published by Visa Games, this is basically a narrative-based cooking game about a family moving from India to Canada in the 1980s. You see a dad struggling with his job, you see a son struggling to fit in at school, and you see a mom struggling to hold a family together. This game is very relatable, I think, to most people, and is a very heartfelt story, and the cooking is fun and challenging at times too. So definitely check this one out. And we have Pinstripe. Pinstripe is basically like playing a Tim Burton film. It's basically a puzzle solving game where you're this dad who loses his daughter to this Mr. Pinstripe, this really creepy guy, and you're solving these puzzles, moving throughout the map, and unlocking new areas with new keys. It's very engaging, the story's pretty good. The style and aesthetic I think are amazing and very unique. This one's just an interesting game, so I thought I'd throw it on the list. Check it out, Pinstripe.
Why is all your stuff thrown out that door, Daddy? And is that Mummy's locket?
And that's going to conclude the top 5 best indie games you can beat in under 3 hours or less for me. Hope you enjoyed this list. Like I said before, make sure to comment down below if there's any games I missed. Really appreciate you stopping by. Until next time, stay blessed, my friends.